thanks for joining us on our Module 8. Okay, so with this painting that was originally produced by C.M. Serres in the 1880s, we've got 10 areas of damage. We've gone through the patching them up, the ironing out all the undulation. We've actually sorted out all the filling, and we're to a point now where we can start getting some colour back onto it, okay? But before we do, we have to do a little bit of detective work. We have to understand what C.M. Serres actually had on his palette in terms of colour pigments. Most artists will only use about 5 principal colours and then do several orbitals around both as they mix them. What did C.M. Serres actually have on his palette? And if we can understand that, it will be a very easy job indeed to patch up and match up these colours. So before we go any further, let's do some detective work, shall we? Okay, so let's have a look at the book here. We're trying to patch up this area here of water, okay? So, in fact, we'll take a look here. I think these colours are getting fairly close, okay? So, what we need is cadmium yellow and cobalt blue, okay? So they're a starting point. So let's get those onto our palette, shall we? Yeah, so as you can see, I think one of these are fairly close. We're getting fairly close. Right, okay, let's go. So, cobalt blue. I'm going to put some burnt sienna on here as well. And the cadmium yellow is up here. Try and get your palette as clean as you can before you start this, because when you're restoring, you don't want old paints and old mixes of paints confusing your eye. Okay, so try and get this palette as clean as you can. Okay. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. I can always give it another coat of something, can't I? Okay, well, I think this area here is pretty much as close as we're going to get. Do remember it's not varnish yet, so it's not likely to be an exact match. This area here I think is almost invisible to the eye, and there's actually an area here that is, I think, virtually indistinguishable to the original. So I think this area we're quite happy with for now. Right, so there's an area just here that I think that a raw umber on its own should just about cover nicely. Okay, this is a mouse stick. It's just a stick with softened ends, so no damage can be caused, and the idea is that that it supports your hand, okay, without the need for resting it on the painting itself. Okay, so just going to soften all that down in raw umber. Lots of little dabs are the best way of restoring. The areas aren't big enough to do what you might call a stroke, but I think that is pretty much. Remember, it's got to dry. That's actually wet, and again it's got the varnish around it, so everywhere else has got a varnish effect. That's a matte effect, and it's wet, so it might just dry back a little than that, okay? So I think that's pretty good. The best compliment is when you try to photograph your repair and you just can't find it. But it's just there, look. Okay, so the repair is just, where is it? At the end of that little paper tab, okay? Right, it's time to address the tree trunk repair. Okay, now the book, and it's a good starting point, advises that we use black, raw umber, okay, and grey, cold grey, okay. So that's a good starting point. Let's see how we get on with those. Right, so we've mixed a bit of that up. Let's just try it on our checking stylus. It's not bad. Right, it's not bad. It certainly matches the darker areas of the trunk, but we need some light spots as well, so I'll have to do a second mix, I think. Okay. Okay, I think we've probably more or less got the colours there. The lighter highlights in this lighter colour here, and the darker areas, maybe the darker brown there, or even a little darker. Okay, so we'll have a go at that. Now this tree I know is going to get overlaid with some foliage, so we'll do the best we can, which I think we've probably achieved. Okay. Now remember, we're going to overlay some of this with foliage, so we've got to return and do that. But otherwise, I think that's as good as we're going to get the trunk. Right, well the last two repairs I've got are both foliage and I reckon that the olive to the left hand side just here is as close as we're going to get. Okay, needs to be a little darker, I think. I mean, the artist has shown lighter areas and darker, so I think I'll just cut in a little darker there. Okay, moving along. And then I think we're a little lighter here. I think that's fairly good. Okay. It's not going to get much better than that, I don't think. Okay, I mean, that's the job done then. All 10 repairs are done. Well, thank you very much for watching. That's the end of Module 8. I hope you'll join us for Module 9, where we'll get some more varnish on it, reappraise it, and take a look. But don't forget, it's not the end of the world if some of the painting isn't perfect, because we can go over it once more, or now, or any time in the future. It can be removed again. And if a better restorer wants to have a go at it, well, hey, nothing's wasted. Thanks very much.